to Barrier Turbo, turn Snowy Vengeance, featuring Froslass from Silver Tempest with a Frosty Gel attack, doing 90 extra damage and also paralyzing opponent's active Pokemon if you play a Candice from your hand during this turn. So for only 1 energy, you get to do 110 damage with this attack. We also get to place extra damage counter on opponent's bench Pokemon with our Pump Shot ability using Radiant Blastoise. Every single turn, you get to place 2 damage counter on one of their bench Pokemon and another 2 with your Quick Shoot Inteleon. We also have our Scuba to recycle our abilities, and also Candice actually helps you search for your shady dealings Drizzile, helping you search for any other trainer cards you need. For example, a Capacious Bucket, you don't get your energy. We only are playing 9 copies of energy, so we may not get them with our Candice because we are only looking at the top 7 cards of our deck. So look at the top 7 cards of our deck and put any water Pokemon or water energy into your hand. If you don't have water energy at the top 7 cards of your deck, you actually are forced to play your shady dealings to search for Capacious Bucket or any other cards to get that energy out. So we actually need to attack every single turn with either Froslass or our Basculegion. We have our fail-safe just in case we can't play Candice. So it's not necessary for us to play Candice every single turn because we don't actually need to keep on paralyzing our opponent's active Pokemon. We can actually choose to confuse it instead by using our Grudge Dive attack. So Grudge Dive, for only 1 water energy as well, you get to do 120 damage with this attack if one of your Pokemon gets knocked out by your opponent's attacks during their last turn. So we get to do 120 for only 1 energy, and we also get to confuse their active Pokemon. So essentially every single turn we either get to paralyze them or confuse their active, which is very, very cool. And we also are able to place damage counters as well. We have our Raihan to help us charge up our Basculin Rapid Strike from Evolving Skies, helping us do Swamp the Wound, collecting a knockout against a V-Star or even a V-Max, doing 10 more damage for each damage counter on opponent's active Pokemon plus 30 base. So if they have 15 damage counter, it's already enough to knock out a V-Max Pokemon. We are actually placing damage counter on them as well. So damage counter placement plus those tiny damage, 110 plus 4 damage counter is enough to kill them with our Basculin. So imagine that. Remember to use your cards wisely because we only have 1 copy to spare, but we also have Serena to pull out any V Pokemons on the bench to basically target them after doing our Grudge Dive. We can actually do another Paralysis on the next turn or something like that. We're not doing a lot of damage, but you actually get to accumulate those damage counters and damages. If they play Sharon or Cheryl, we don't actually get to win that easily, but we actually stand a good chance against decks that don't heal or decks that don't play cards like that. We also have our 1 Ordinary Rod to shove back our Pokemon energies and 1 Pal Pad to shove back our Candice or any other supporter cards. We have our regular switch cards, our Escape Rope Scuba Nets, and our Level Ball to get our Drizzile or even Froslass. We have 1 copy of Temple of Sinnoh and Training Court to basically remove Path Therapy just because this is a Radiant ability. We can actually use this ability if they have Path Therapy in play. We also get to recycle our energy with Training Court as well. And Raihan helps us charge up our energy. Serena helps us draw as well. We have our regular setup cards, VIP Pass, Level Ball, Quick Ball, and also 1 Capture to get our basic Pokemons out. And that's all for the deck list. Let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game versus Giratina V-Star. It's a very classic Lost Box. Nothing different, nothing new, but it's still the meta and we should be able to win the meta as long as they don't heal their Pokemon. So versus a V-Star is quite easy because we are doing 110 damage at a time. 110, 120. But we got that 1 choice belt, Radiant Blastoise, Quick Shoot Inteleon. So we got those tiny damage counter abilities to help us over time collect a knockout after 2 hits. So we still need to support in terms of doing damage. We still need the damage support from our abilities just to do the knockout, just because we are playing a 1 energy turbo attacker. So all we need to do is evolve and satisfy the condition. We either need 1 knockout from our opponent's last turn. They have to knock us out with damage from an attack, and they have to knock out our Pokemon during their last turn for us to be able to play Grudge Dive for 120 damage, and also confusing their active as well. And we have to be able to play Candice during our turn from our hand if we want to paralyze their active, and if we want to do 110 damage with Froslass. Otherwise, we're only doing 20 damage with that attack. So Froslass, make sure you are able to play Candice before you put Froslass in the active. Obviously, for your first attack, you should be pulling off Froslass, unless if you are expecting your Pokemon to get knocked. If you're up against Mew VMAX, you should be expecting something in the active to get knocked out. So possibly play like a Snorunt and Hisuian Basculin on your bench as well, just in case if they kill their active, you got your Basculegion to basically put some damage on the Mew VMAX already, or even kill the Meloetta and, you know, cut them off of their Fusion Strike energies. So killing the Meloetta is still a good thing because we can actually target the Genesect. We can do Serena on the Genesect and then slowly kill it off with damage counters. We can even kill the Mew VMAX for the final 3 prize if they don't do Psychic Leap. So Psychic Leap is going to help them a lot. I actually got matched against Mew VMAX a couple times and lost because they played Psychic Leap at the right time, which is quite annoying. If they leap and recover all damage counters, that would be terrible. If they don't have any basics on the bench, they can't do a Psychic Leap because they actually need to copy the attack of their basic Pokemon on the bench. So if they do something like Max Miracle or whatever, they would get a knockout only one prize every single turn, and eventually we would be able to, we would be able to win the game if they don't play Oricorio, because we can actually kill the Mew VMAX with 2 hits. If we're lucky enough, we may be able to kill the Mew VMAX with 2 hits. And 2 hits for 3 prizes is a lot. Either that or kill the Genesect with 1 hit. If we do Grudge Dive once and then force them to switch back to the bench, or if they just retreat to the bench, they're probably going to retreat though with the Genesect. And then on the next turn, we can actually place damage counters on that Genesect with our Blastoise and Inteleon. So we just need 2 turns. If we have both Blastoise and Inteleon in play, we just need 2 turns to basically place 8 damage counter on the Genesect after doing either Frosty Jail or even Grudge Dive, because that's actually enough to kill off the Genesect. 8 damage counters is exactly enough. And 1 hit for 2 prize is a lot. So we just need a couple turns to collect the damage counter for extra knockouts, right? If we're doing 1 hit for 2 prize, that's actually speeding up the game. We are actually faster than our opponent compared to them only drawing 1 prize at a time with a Mew VMAX deck. They are not able to do a snipe. I don't think they're able to do anything but drawing 1 prize at a time with, Max Miracle. So I think probably their main advantage is Psychic Leap. Psychic Leap and obviously Force Seal Stone to do early knockouts on their first turn already. If they do the right knockout, they can actually stop us from doing anything on the next turn. We may be stuck for 1 turn if we don't have the right basics on the bench. So make sure you are careful. We do have our Hisuian Basculin though to gather the crew. So we are playing 3 copies of that Hisuian Basculin. So we can actually put extra basic Pokemon on the bench with that 0 energy attack. On the first turn, if you have Hisuian Basculin as your active, you can put another 2 basic Pokemons on the bench without doing Quick Ball, Level Ball, without doing a VIP pass. If you don't get any of your balls, you're still fine. You just need to put your Basculin in the active spot and use Gather the Crew to put 2 more basic Pokemons. And here comes Cramorant, and we actually did a Paralysis on the first strike. And here comes either a Switch or a Bird Keeper. Do you have it? They're playing Comfy, so maybe they should be doing either Escape Rope or Switch right now. Maybe they have a couple of Scoop Up Nets in their hand. If they scoop up, if they play Scoop Up Nets, they can't actually retreat the Genesect because it's a, with the Giratina because it's a V card. So this is a very funny game because I don't think they got their Scoop Up Net until late game. I don't think they even got their Scuba Net at all for this game. It's quite weird actually. Anyways, let's just scoop up the Inteleon and re-evolve the Drizzile. So it's always better to evolve Drizzile even if you don't need to use the ability. Have one Drizzile, one Sobble on the bench. That is the golden rule for an Inteleon deck. And the reason we are playing Inteleon is because we don't really have a choice for water support. The only water support is Inteleon. Right now, there's no other water evolutions that allows you to search your deck or draw cards. Except for Pyukumuku, which we do have. We do actually have a Pyukumuku for this deck. Which I would recommend to switch for a Bruno, because you can actually do Shady for a Bruno. While attacking with your Basculegion, you can draw up to 7 cards in your hand, which is going to prepare you for your next turn to do another Candice, or even, evolve a Froslass, or even evolve a second Hisuian Basculegion. The second Basculegion to do another Grudge Dive. So that's gonna help you a lot. We can even attack with Blastoise as well. Don't forget that you can attack with Basculin, Rapid Strike Basculin to do 10 plus damage for each damage counter of opponent's active Pokemon. So if they have 14 damage counter on their, well, we just need 13, I think, if I'm not mistaken. We just need 13 damage counter on their active V-Star to knock it out with our Swarm the Wound, because we are doing 30 base plus 10 more for each damage counter of their active Pokemon. That means if they have 13 damage counter, we are doing 160 damage, which is enough, more than enough to kill the V-Star if they don't attach a big charm. If they don't have cards like, if they don't play Gudra V-Star to reduce damage, or have full face guard, things that reduce damage. Gardevoir doesn't work because you are playing a one price deck. Radiant Gardevoir. So here comes a Lost City, which is a little bit annoying because we do have one Rod and we want to be shuffling cards back. But we are playing Training Courts for this deck. So for this game, we don't have a Temple of Sinnoh, unfortunately. But we do have 2 Training Courts. The reason we have 2 Stadium cards is because we want to be preparing for not just Lost City, but also other, more pressing Stadium cards like Path to the Peak. I don't think there's anything else we need to prepare for other than Path to the Peak and maybe Lost City. I don't think Lost City is that, that dangerous, except maybe if they lost our Blastoise. If they lost the Blastoise early, we can't use damage counters. We can't use Pump Shot ever again, so we only have that one Rod to shuffle it back anyway. So if they kill the Blastoise early, we're gonna have to dig for that one Rod, which is quite difficult. And here comes the Cramorant, which is actually the perfect time to be playing it because 110 damage is enough to kill the Froslass, but not quite enough to kill Basculegion or Inteleon. So they have the Greninja ready to attack with Moonlight Shuriken on the next turn, but we do have Manaphy on the bench, perfectly placed. If they play an Avery, we should be discarding the Basculegion, maybe the Basculegion and a Sobble, because we don't really need anything else, do we? I don't know. I feel like we should be discarding the Inteleon because 120 damage is not enough to kill the the Greninja. So we should actually be evolving the or benching another Blast. We should be just benching the Blastoise because we have Escape Rope to collect the knockout on Greninja later. So if they attack with Greninja right now, all we need to do is, and play an Avery, all we need to do is discard maybe Sobble and Basculegion and bench the Blastoise. And they did not play Avery, which is very surprising because normally if we put a full bench, they would be able to pull it off. Make sure you play only 4 cards on your bench every turn. It's not just common sense, it's like safer. Sometimes you don't have a choice because you should be expecting your opponent to play a Marnie if you keep too many cards in your hand. So if they play a Marnie, you can't actually do, you can't actually evolve on the next turn and play more shady. You can't actually protect your bench. We have no choice but to bench everything though right now because if we don't, they're just going to shuffle everything back and we can't actually evolve that easily anymore, our second Basculegion. Okay, we're going to do, I forgot the attack, Aqua Bullet. Okay, Aqua Bullet for 20 extra damage on the bench. And we're actually going to hit the Drizzile. Sorry, oh my goodness. I'm not talking properly today, sorry guys. We're actually going to hit the Greninja right now and then collect the knockout with our Grudge Dive. If they do a boss, we can still do Grudge Dive with the second Hisuian Basculegion. So 120 damage is exactly enough to kill the Greninja. The Greninja, I keep calling it the wrong name. After placing 2 damage counter right now with our Aqua Bullet. Candice. The full art Candice is so beautiful. Like, it looks like Christmas. It just looks like Christmas, doesn't it? Okay. I'm quite surprised that I don't see a second Giratina. I don't know what's happening. So they actually played a Raihan on the Greninja, which is quite useless, kind of pointless because it's gonna die on the next turn. Not only that, they're not hitting the bench. We have a Manaphy. They may do stuff like, I don't know, a Zigzagoon, Toy Catcher, and Cologne. I don't think it's that easy though. You would need 2 Zigzagoons. or like a scuba net with the Zigzagoon. You could do a couple scuba nets. I mean, Lost Box has scuba nets, so they could have one Zigzagoon and a couple scuba nets to basically place 2 damage. All they need is 2 damage counters though. 2 damage counter on the Manaphy, and then Toy Catcher Cologne actually gets them a snipe for this turn. They can actually hit the Manaphy and something else on the bench, and then on the next turn hit something another bench snipe. But if they do that though, they're gonna die on the next turn anyways. So they chose to retreat and did Mirage Gate on the Giratina. So apparently they actually played Raihan to search for the basic, which is quite sad. So right now we're gonna kill off the Comfy because they did not do a scoop. They did not scoop up the Comfy on the last turn. They did not recover from the Comfy. Oh, it's not enough though. We need 3 strikes. So we're just gonna place the extra damage counter on the Giratina right now. We're just gonna put pressure on the Giratina and then slowly knock it out on the next turn because we're only doing 120 damage with the Basculegion right now. We're not playing any choice belt for this game. So for this game, we actually don't have a choice belt. And we have a Bruno instead of Pyukumuku. We have a couple different cards as well. I'm sorry to say, we actually have 2 escape ropes as well, I think. So it's a little bit of a different list, but it's kind of an experimentation. Eventually, I decided, you know what? We just need 1 escape rope. We don't really need Bruno. I think Pyukumuku is kind of better. I feel like Bruno still has some value though, so I'm not sure. I'm kind of juggling between. I'm still not really too sure whether I should be playing Bruno or Pyukumuku. Because I quite like Bruno. When you're playing it, you know, to attack with Basculegion, it kind of makes perfect sense because it, you know, you are expecting a knockout every single turn anyways. And if you play Grudge Dive with Bruno at the same time by doing a Shady, it's actually the perfect harmony because you're not only using the effect for the attack, you're also using the knockout effect for your supporter card. Okay, they shuffled back the Cramorant. They got 4 prize remaining and we got 3. We are already ahead. We are already ahead, and not just that, we have damage counters on the V-Star. So I don't think they can win that easily. We even got Serena to pull it out on the next turn, so it's done. Like, they're so done. Right now, we can actually kill off the Giratina, but we chose to knock out the Comfy. I don't know why I did the Snorunt. Oh, they did Star Requiem. So Requiem means they actually knock us out with effects of attacks, and that means we can't play Grudge Dive. Make sure you're aware of that. Only if they knock you out with damage from an attack are you able to do 120 damage with Grudge Dive. Hisuian Basculegion only allows you the extra damage if your opponent knocks you out with damage from an attack on their last turn. So be very careful with Basculegion. They can knock you out with special conditions. If they knock you out with effects, special conditions, damage counters, it doesn't work. It has to be knocked out by damage during their turn. Very, very specific. Froslass is a bit easier to play because all you need to do is play Candice and that's it. If you play Candice, you get extra damage. If you don't, you don't. Okay, we're gonna snipe the Comfy because they failed to scoop up for 2 turns. I have no idea how. I honestly have no idea how a Giratina V-Star failed to scoop up the Comfy for 2 turns straight after having like 13 cards left in the deck. Like, that makes no sense. I have no idea how. Maybe they lost it. If they lost a couple scuba nets early, I think that would make kind of a little bit of sense because they wouldn't be scooping up the V card early anyways. I don't think they would need the scuba net early because they need the switch for the Giratina to, you know, remove the paralysis for the early game. That may have explained the lost, you know, the missing scuba nets. You never know what they have in their deck though. They may have more escape ropes and less nets, and they could have it prized or at the bottom of the deck. They could have lost it. You really never know. If they got it lost though, we should be paying more attention. So here comes a Mew VMAX deck. We're actually up against Mew right now, which is very, very intense. Very scary because they can do Psychic Leap at any moment. So make sure you are careful. If they do Psychic Leap, honestly, we have no chance of winning anymore because they are erasing all the damage that we've done. All the damage that we did is basically for nothing. And they are only doing 70 damage though. I think that's the plus side. Only doing 70 damage with Psychic Leap, but they do have that Power Tablet to help them collect the knockout. So Power Tablet is going to help them knock out a Froslass or even a Basculegion if they play many copies at the same time. They just need 2 tablets to kill a Basculegion with 1 hit. So they're probably going to play it at the right time. They're probably not going to waste their tablets against a 1 prize by doing Psychic Leap for 100 plus damage, collecting 1 prize while recovering all damage. That's crazy. Okay, we got lucky, and they actually got a Genesect in the active from the start. So this is a very lucky game, I would say. I'm just gonna take it anyways. Like, if life gives you apples, you're just gonna have to... Well, you're gonna have to be grateful, right? If life gives you lemons, you're gonna have to deal with it. But if it gives you once in a while some juicy apples, just take it. Like, why not? Okay, we got terrible cards. We got a really shitty start. Candice for Drizzile and no basic Pokemons. It's not too bad though, because we got a couple balls and we can actually gather the crew for another 2 basics. So I wouldn't say it's a terrible start. We didn't get our VIP, we didn't get enough balls, but we did, or enough Pokemons with our Candice, but we did get, you know, a couple basics on the bench. So we're gonna get a Sobble right now, and we're gonna bench another Basculin and another Sobble with our Gather the Crew later. So we're gonna play double Sobbles, and then 1 Snorunt and 1 Basculin. If they boss the Snorunt though, if they boss the Snorunt, knock it out, we can actually attack with Basculegion still, so I think it's okay. Basculegion is doing more damage anyways. It's not paralyzing them, so confusing the VMAX has no value because they can quite easily retreat to the second one and attack with even the Meloetta. So confusing a free retreat deck doesn't really do anything unless if you play Galarmine. They even have a Feather Ball to summon their VMAX. Okay. It doesn't really work in a VMAX deck though, does it? Because it doesn't get you your other cards. It only gets you your Mew, Basic, and Evolution. I would prefer doing cards like Chili, Silent, and Crest to get any Fusion Strike Pokemon into your hand. 3 copies as well, that's like crazy. But it is a supporter card though. You should be playing more items, I suppose, for a meta standard. If you want to win big. If you want to be competitive. I don't think Chili, Silent, and Crest qualifies for standard meta. Okay, here comes Candice. And we're gonna evolve the Basculegion right now. And should we play Shady? That's the question, right? If we do Shady right now, we can quick shoot on the next turn. And honestly, that's actually better. But we chose not to. I don't know why we chose not to, because I think the reason is because we don't have a Candice right now, and they could quite easily do a Marnie if we search for Candice on this turn and put it into our hand. If we search for something else, we actually can't search for the Candice later on. So we want to be searching for Candice every single turn until, you know, something gets knocked out. If they can't get past the Paralysis, we actually need to pull out a second Candice again on the next turn. Otherwise, we can't actually do enough damage to win the game, because we're only doing 20 damage with Froslass otherwise. So to pull off double Frosty Jail like twice in a row, we actually need to play Candice twice in a row, which is quite difficult if you don't get your, you know, if you don't have enough Sobbles on the bench and if you don't do Shady enough times. But we didn't actually got a problem with that. We get to play our Candice anyways, and here comes a second Frosty Jail for the first 2 prize knockout. And they actually evolved the VMAX on the bench on the next turn. So having VMAXs on the bench means you can't play Psychic Leap anymore unless if you do Memory Capsule. If you play Memory Capsule, you can still Leap. But Cross Fusion Strike is not going to help you do Psychic Leap. Okay, we're going to retreat. We're gonna retreat and attack with Froslass. Raihan is actually helping you attack with something else as well. Inteleon. So Aqua Bullet requires 2 energies, Waterfall requires 2 energies, and those tiny attacks, those tiny damage can actually help you, you know, as the game progresses. It can help you a lot eventually. So Basculin and, you know, Inteleon can still help us do damage. We can even do Raihan on Radiant Blastoise, because it needs 3 energies. If we do Raihan on, you know, this turn and attach 1 energy from our hand, while attacking with a Basculegion, we can actually do Torrential Cannon on the next turn. 170 damage is a lot, but you actually can't attack with your Blastoise on the next turn. It's gonna die anyways. We're gonna have to expect Blastoise to get knocked out after attacking with that Radiant Pokemon. It's only 150 HP, but it may still be able to tank damage and survive 1 turn. You never know. And if we did 170 damage on the last turn, we can actually play Basculin to collect the... We can't play Raihan anymore, though. We do have that 1 Pal Pad, and we may be able to get Inteleon for, you know, a Scuba Net and a Pal Pad, and then recycle the Shady on the next turn to get Raihan back, to be able to, you know, charge up our Basculin to do a VMAX knockout, because Basculin can actually do extra damage. If they have 17 damage counter on their Pokemon, on their VMAX, Basculin is able to collect the knockout with Swarm the Wound. So we just need to Swarm the Wound to collect the knockout, and, you know, drawing 3 prizes with 2 hits is a lot. And that's gonna help us win the game. So right now they have 2 Mew VMAXs in play, and they did not do psychically. Well, they don't have any damage counters on their Mew. They got their 2nd knockout, which is quite ghastly. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, that was their 1st knockout. Okay, that was their 1st knockout. I was kind of surprised, like, why aren't we having any damage on the Mew VMAX if it's their 2nd prize already? So this is the interesting turn where we actually have you know, some choice to make. We should actually be thinking whether to do to bench a Snorunt or a Basculin. If we do a Basculin right now, we can actually do a Raihan to prepare for a Swarm the Wound knockout on the next turn. We can even do a you know, Raihan actually gives us a search as well. We can search for Temple of Sinnoh for us to do Quick Shoot on the active, because we actually need Temple of Sinnoh to shut down Fusion Strike energy before we're able to place damage counters on the Mew VMAX. But we actually chose to snipe the bench. We chose to Quick Shoot on the bench, and then charge up the, you know, play Raihan on the Basculin. They can quite easily do a knockout on the Basculin, but we just need to collect the knockout with our Temple of Sinnoh later. So if we search for Temple of Sinnoh, we should actually be putting it in our hand right now, because we actually chose to snipe the bench Mew. So this is the funny game where they actually bench more Mews than necessary and attack with like 3 VMAXs. So we actually need to kill, like, we have to kill 1 VMAX and 1 Meloetta. If they bench a Meloetta, that's gonna help us a lot. If they don't, though, we're gonna have to deal with the Genesect at some point by playing a Serena. I don't think we have a Serena anymore. I'm not sure if we actually played it. I wasn't paying attention again. But we have that Escape Rope to possibly help us, because they're probably going to force us to hit the Mew VMAX 3 times in a row, which is going to be very annoying if they evolve all the Mews at some point. I mean, it's going to be very, very frustrating. So if they don't evolve the Mew, though, we can actually play Serena at some point in the game. Just a thought, just a fun thought. We can possibly knock out the Mew VMAX, the Mew, the basic Mew. If they don't play Oricorio, we can do Grudge Dive for 150 damage with a Choice Belt, and then all we need is 1 Radiant Blastoise, 1 Pump Shot, and 1 Quick Shoot to knock it out on the same turn. We got 19 damage counters on the same turn, and that's more than enough to kill the Mew. If they don't have Oricorio, obviously. Okay, we did a Scoop Up Net, and we're gonna re-evolve the Drizzile. So I think we made a mistake early game. We actually chose to play Candice twice, which is kind of a misplay, honestly, because we could have done Shady. We could have Shadied for a Choice Belt and attach it to the Froslass, and then do Frost Breath. It still has a second attack. We can actually play Frost Breath for 90 damage. So 90 damage is enough to kill the Genesect after doing 110 on the last turn. But if we did that though, there would be no point because we actually bench something different. If we did that, we would have to bench a second Snorunt. But right now we actually bench a Basculin instead. Saving that many Candice sometimes has no value because you should be playing Basculin to do damage as well. But Paralysis is going to help us a lot more for this game because they don't have that many, I don't think they have that many switches in their VMAX deck. They do have Cross Switcher and Escape Rope though. They may play enough switches in their deck as well. You never know. So here comes Avery, which is going to be very, very difficult because we're going to have to choose what to discard right now. I feel like we should be discarding the Sobble and the Basculegion, because we don't want to be wasting our Raihan on the Rapid Strike Basculin. We don't want to be discarding the Drizzile either, because we actually have an Inteleon in our hand. So we can quite easily search for a Candice with our Shady dealings and then get our bench running on the next turn. If they do another Avery, we just need to discard the Inteleon. So we should be benching another Sobble and possibly a Snorunt to get our system running. Maybe searching for 2 Candice would actually help us. So we actually have a Candice from the top deck. Look at that. We got a Candice and we should be playing Inteleon right now, but they just conceded because, oh, they actually did Max Miracle, which is not enough to kill the active. They did Max Miracle on the Basculegion, and they have a double turbo. They forgot that they have a double turbo. So not collecting a knockout every single turn is quite bad. If they waste one turn, even just one turn, not doing a knockout against a one-price deck, Mew VMAX is going to be so screwed. Especially if they evolve all the VMAX, and that means they can't actually play Psychic Leap anymore. So no leap means it's kind of in the danger zone for them. They're definitely in the danger zone. Okay, right now we're up against a Braixen deck. Serena's Braixen with Meowstic, if I'm not mistaken. A one-price Silver Tempest deck. Doing 60x damage for each Serena in your discard pile. For 2 colorless energy, you get to play double turbo, twin energy, and you even get to do Magma Basin for your Braixen. So Magma Basin is going to help you retain the damage that you're doing. Double turbo is doing 20 less damage though. So if you play Magma Basin, you have to place 2 damage counter on your Braixen, and it doesn't have that much damage. It doesn't have that much HP to begin with. Only 80 HP for a stage 1 is quite bad because your opponent could play cards like Mimikyu VMAX or, you know, �𝑑𝑻𝑪𝑮𝑶 or stuff like that to place damage counters on your Pokemon. If they play, you know, enough Inteleons, they can actually slowly kill off your Braixen on the bench with damage counters. So it's not good to have low HP Pokemons, too many of them in play. Make sure you are smart when you're building a deck, because if you have too many level ball cards in your deck, you may get matched up against a damage counter deck. If they place enough damage counters, they can do double price knockout every single turn, and they can actually win quite easily. Especially with Greninja as well. If they do a boss Lost City knockout on your Manaphy early, they can quite easily do Moonlight Shuriken every single turn from then on with their Mirage Gate, and that's going to help them draw like 2 prize after the Manaphy kill every single turn, which is quite bad. So we do have Drizzile, which is a level ball card. We have our Froslass, 80 HP as well. So this deck is kind of in the danger zone for that, you know, in that sense as well. But we don't really have a choice though. Meowstic is 90 HP, 10 more HP than Braixen. And they have a Miltank as well to basically buy them some time. Miltank is going to do a knockout right now because Basculin only has 50 HP. That's the bad thing about this card. It has a very amazing attack though. Like a 0 energy attack for you to bench basic Pokemon is so helpful. It's so helpful. It works for any deck, and we even have the Basculegion from Lost Origin, which has, which helps you shuffle back energies, basic energy into your deck, which works for any deck as well. You can play it with your fire deck, you can play it with your lightning deck, you can play it with any type of energies. So that's the good thing of Basculin right now, Basculegion. They have like the basic and evolution that actually fits in for any deck, and is kind of helping you mix around and, tech for the right strategies. Okay, still no Fennekin though. They didn't have no Fennekin on the bench early. I think the reason being we're playing way more Pokemons than they are. We have way more Pokemons in the deck, and we have our, not just our balls, we have Candice to search for our Pokemons as well. So that's the reason they're not getting their Fennekins on the first turn. I don't think they have that many balls or VIP pass even. So 4 Candice in our deck means we have 4 extra ways of searching for our Pokemon and benching it from the very first turn. If we go second, we can actually do Candice and then bench extra basics on the bench. Sorry, put extra Pokemons on the bench. Okay, we're gonna do Frosty Jail for our first knockout. So we should be able to pull off a Fennekin. If they bench a second Fennekin, we should be able to kill it off with our Quick Shoot Inteleon. We just need to somehow get Blastoise into the game. So for this game, we have a Heavy Ball. Eventually, I decided to cut it out from the deck. May not be a wise decision though, because Heavy Ball helps you get your Radiant Pokemon into play. If you can't play Palm Shot, you may not be able to snipe the bench fast enough for a knockout, because Inteleon is only giving you 2 damage counters, and if you evolve late, you're not able to evolve fast because we have no rare candy, and we actually have to evolve stage by stage for this deck, and we may not be able to get the Inteleon that easily because we only have 1 Incense and, Candice to rely on. If we don't get the Rapid Strike Inteleon with our Candice, or if we don't get our Incense, we're not able to do Quick Shot that early. Okay, they even have Chinchino for the draw support. So Chinchino and Meowstic helps them either draw 2 cards or search for the Serena. I feel like Meowstic should be enough though. I feel like they should just need a Snorlax and a Meowstic. I don't think they need Chinchino. Level Ball, it works with Level Ball though. It works really well with Level Ball. And you get that extra discard with Make Do as well. So if you search for 2 Serenas into your hand, you can actually do, you can actually discard the Serena from your hand with your Chinchino, possibly drawing even more copies, and then play the Serena to discard another 3. So that gives you 4 discards in the same turn, and then you can actually do 240 damage on your second turn after evolving by playing Meowstic and Chinchino. Kind of a smart combo, I would say, but you're playing way too many Pokemons though. I feel like it's way too many Pokemons. They are playing Twin Energy. We are playing a 1 energy deck. They're playing a Twin Energy deck. It's not that easy to do a Twin Energy deck because you need double turbo, you need special energies, and you only are able to fit up to 8 copies. You don't have that much space for your Twin Double. If they do Magma Basin though, it's going to be a bit easier, I suppose. But they need a lot of switch cards, don't they? Magma Basin requires you to switch a Pokemon. So we have double stage 1 as well. We have our Froslass Basculegion. We also have our Inteleon, which is actually a stage 2. But the reason we're playing that many Pokemons is because we have Candice. If we play Candice early, we may be able to draw out enough Pokemons to help us get a good start. Or not, we can at least do, we can bench a few more Pokemons with our Basculin, Hisuian Basculin, gather the crew on the first turn, and then, play a Drizzile after doing the Candice. So Candice will at least get us our Drizzile if we don't get anything else. We are only playing 3 copies though, so fingers crossed we get it. If we don't, we would probably, have the Level Ball in our hand anyways. So if you have a Level Ball, make sure you don't play it at the wrong time. If you need it to do your, shady dealings, keep it in your hand on the next turn. If you don't keep it in your hand, if you played just to bench a basic right now, you may not be able to do shady after. So be very careful when you're playing your, any cards in your hand for that matter. But level Ball especially is much more sensitive, because it definitely can help you win the game if you get your Shady at the right time. And we actually killed double. We emptied their field, and that means they need to re-bench the Fennekin on the next turn, and we are getting an extra prize. They are, forced to not attack again unless if they have a Miltank. They are not doing a knockout for another whole turn. So that's that's actually very good. That means we won the game. They conceded. Okay, here comes another one prize, I think. I have no idea what they're playing. Could be a Bolton VMAX with Rayquaza VMAX. So Rayquaza Bolton makes a lot of sense. Rayquaza Bolton with Flaffy. But if they have like the VMAX, they shouldn't be playing that many copies, right? They shouldn't be doing that many copies of the Bolton VMAX. I suppose it's a tech card. You could actually evolve to avoid the knockout and retreat to the bench, because Bolton V gets knocked out quite easily. It only has 200 HP. If you don't play Cape as well, it's gonna hurt you a lot. Maybe they are playing like Big Charm with the Bolton and then evolve to retain the HP boost. Because Big Charm works for your VMAX as well. Cape doesn't work for the VMAX. So they are actually playing a control mill deck. It's not really a control deck because they don't have Galar Mine. So it's kind of a mill deck, more of a mill deck than a control, because they only are playing nothing but Yellhorn for the control, maybe a couple Crushing Hammers as well. I don't see Crushing Hammer though, but even if they do a Hammer, we just need to attach another 1 energy from our hand. So that's the good thing about this deck, is that we are resistant to Hammers. We're resistant to a lot of things in terms of control, because we have our Shady to search for the right cards. We have our Scoop Up Net. We have our Stadium cards. If they discard too many things though, it's gonna be quite bad. So let's hope they don't get their energies early. We do have our Temple of Sinnoh as well to possibly slow them down by that one turn if they don't get a Stadium card. If they don't get their Stadium after attaching the special energy, they may not be able to attack for that one turn. And we just need that one turn to collect 1 extra prize and slow them down by a little bit, because they have no choice but to discard every single turn cards from our deck. If they don't do it every single turn, they are done for, because we just need 1 energy to attack. It's quite risky though, because we have to play Candice every single turn. So I would say the best strategy would be to attack with the Shady Inteleon. So prepare your Inteleon to attack. If you don't have the Inteleon from Sword and Shield, you should be doing the Rapid Strike Inteleon to place extra damage counters. So even if you can do Waterfall, it's still better than your Froslass, because Froslass requires you to play Candice every single turn. If you run out of your Candice, if you don't get your Pal Pad, we are only able to play up to 6 Candice in a single game, and that's the maximum time we can pull it off. We probably would have at least 1 card in the prize anyways, so we may not be able to play it 6 times in a row. So make sure you charge up, be smart, and charge up your other Pokemon to attack, especially if they are not killing your Pokemon. Basculegion has no value for this game. Basculegion is not helping us at all because they are not doing a knockout. They are doing 0 knockouts. We may be able to do Frost Breath and then Quick Shoot for the knockout. So surprisingly, they are actually doing Cape of Toughness for a Durant deck, which is kind of annoying, because Cape of Toughness is gonna buy them a lot more turns for them to do the discard. Especially against a 1 prize deck. Not against a V deck though. So Cape of Toughness with Crushing Hammer works very well, because if they do a V deck, they can kill you quite easily with big damage, but they need enough energies, right? If you play 1 prize, if you don't need that much energy, chances are you would do way less than 100 damage, at least 90 damage. I don't think you can pull off 140 damage or 130 even with 1 energy. So they are boosting up to 140 with that Cape. and they got 2 capes attached. And right now we have a Temple of Sinnoh in play thanks to Drizzile, and they can't actually do anything. They don't have the Stadium card. That means they are not able to attack, and no mill, no discard for this turn, and that's gonna help us a lot in the long run. So we just need to play Candice again, and we actually top decked another Drizzile, which is grand, and now we're gonna do Frosty Jail a second time, and that's gonna help us set up for the next turn. We should be attaching the energy to Inteleon right now, and we actually got it. There we go. To Drizzile, my bad. We got Inteleon, and we shouldn't be drawing out that many cards. We should be drawing enough for us to attack. We actually chose to attach to the Froslass, which is quite weird. We should be preparing Inteleon to attack. I don't know why we attached to the Froslass. We should definitely be playing the energy on the Inteleon. I have no idea why I did that. I guess we were trying to prepare for Crushing Hammers. Because if they do Hammer and Galar Mine on the next turn, they have Rose Tower though. So I don't think they're playing that many Galar Mines. If they do Rose Tower, they can still discard our energies and confuse our active. So it's going to be quite bad if they do that. Inteleon needs 2 energies. Froslass just needs 1. And we managed to play our Pal Pad this turn, which is grand. Okay. Yellhorn is going to be quite annoying. But we just need to get our Scoop Up Net. Retreat. Scoop Up. And we got another knockout. And they finally got their Stadium card. They got Peony to get any cards from any trainers from the deck. They got Amazing Yveltal. Sorry, Celebrations Yveltal, my bad. It's not Amazing Rare. So Celebrations Yveltal to discard special energies. It helps them against Mew Max, it helps them against double turbo decks. Lugia V-Star decks, obviously. Okay, here comes the quick ball. They're forced to discard something from their hand, and they actually chose the Rescue Carrier and did the Venusaur, and unfortunately they did not get the special energy. So they actually passed 2 turns not doing a discard. They passed 2 turns not doing any discards. So Cape of Toughness is buying them some time, but they're not doing anything. So it's kind of reversing the number of turns that they are buying, unless if they do like Scoop Up Net to recover the damage. It doesn't really matter though, because we just need 110 damage to knock them out. So if they scoop it up, they would actually be required to attach another cape, and they have 4 capes anyway, so it should actually help even if they scoop it up, because they are forced to discard the tool card. Are we gonna get Escape Rope right now? We actually did the Escape Rope, okay. We're gonna retreat and attack with the Froslass apparently, because they don't have a Galar Mine. So we don't actually need to scoop up our Pokemon. We should be hitting the Durant though. I feel like we should be hitting the Durant. So we actually searched for a Scoop Up Net anyways. So this is quite weird because we just wasted our Switch card. It's not that good to waste your Switch card. We don't have any more Scoop Up Nets. That's very bad. Because they are playing Yellhorn and they are playing Galar Mine as well. So make sure you don't waste your Switch cards. We essentially just did Escape Rope for nothing. We're drawing an extra prize this turn, but it really doesn't matter because they can tank more damage with the Durant anyways. But if we get our Shady Inteleon though, if we get our Rapid Strike Inteleon, we can slowly kill off the bench Durant with damage counters and then knock out the active as well. So I suppose we are biding time for us to get our rapid Inteleon. That's actually making sense in that department. I suppose Radiant Blastoise is definitely gonna help, but we can't afford to draw that many cards into our hand because we have no Bruno to shuffle it back. So if they discard enough cards, they win the game. Make sure you don't draw too many. Okay, Pokegear. We're down to 4 cards. Sorry, 4 prize cards, and we actually have 28 more discards to go. 20 plus, I would say, because we're drawing 1 card every single turn. And if you're doing a Durant, you're gonna have to expect your opponent to play a Marnie. If they do a Marnie at the very last minute, they can actually replenish their deck. They can add more cards into their deck and draw only 5. So that's gonna help them delay the discard, delay your Durant from decking the opponent out. So make sure you take that into account. If you're doing a mill deck, they can pull off a Marnie at the final second, at the final hour, to save themselves from decking out. Okay, right now, we actually are up against Rayquaza at last. We won against a mill deck, and now let's see what happens against Rayquaza VMAX. Quite an old deck, and they actually are playing the old combo Rayquaza VMAX with Bolton and Flaffy. Okay, we got VIP pass on the first turn. That's great. First time ever though, because we're only playing 2 copies. It's not too bad if you have 2 copies, because it actually helps you get either your balls or your capture or even your basic Pokemon in your hand from the first turn. If you don't get your VIP, you would be able to get those at least. So that's the reason we're adding those cards, is because even if you may not be able to pull off VIP on the first turn, you would at least be able to bench something else. Have a few Pokemons on the bench. That's actually going to help you a lot. Especially if you're playing an evolution deck. You need to be able to set up your bench fast if you want to win the game. Okay, we got Escape Rope, which should actually help us a lot. It should help us do our first kill. So our first Paralysis. I wasn't expecting a VMAX. I honestly wasn't expecting a VMAX. But they actually evolved the Bolton on the next turn to recover from the Paralysis. So we're just gonna do Candice Escape Rope. Hopefully get a Froslass from the top deck. There we go, we got the Froslass. I'm not sure how many copies of Froslass we played for this game. For some games we have 4 copies, for some games we have 3. But eventually I decided, you know what, we just need 3 copies since we have like level balls, 4 copies of level ball to get it out. I don't think we need to Candice for a Froslass if we have a level ball in our hand already. We can even do Candice for a Drizzile to get a level ball to evolve our Froslass. Which is not good though, because you should be doing Drizzile, you should be doing shady dealings to search for another Candice, or to search for important cards like Raihan for the next turn. Or another Candice, obviously. I feel like another Candice would actually help you a lot more for your first shady. If you shady after playing Candice for the first time, you should be searching for another Candice, because that helps you set up for the next turn to do another shady for a Bruno, possibly, or even a Choice Belt, Temple of Sinnoh. Depending on the situation, you can shady for anything. Shady for Incense to do a double search with your Inteleon, and then scoop up, get a scoop up net, another Candice, stuff like that to recycle the ability. Okay, we did our first Paralysis, and they actually did the evolution right now. We got our first Snipe as well. We got 2 damage counter on the Mary on the bench, which is good. They did Incense for the VMAX, and that means they didn't evolve the Flaffy on the bench. They can actually do level ball for the evolution though, so let's not get too excited. If we don't get the Inteleon, we couldn't actually evolve the Inteleon because we have no rare candy, and we actually are playing Sorry, we actually did not evolve on our last turn. So that means we're not able to quick shoot the bench, but we can still play Scoop Up Net on the Blastoise. If we get enough energy in our hand, we can actually double snipe the Manaphy while paralyzing the active. So we did not get our energy. Oh, they just conceded though, because we can paralyze again. We are paralyzing them a second time, and they actually did not do any damage on the last turn, playing a VMAX deck. That's really bad for them. They could actually do Cheryl though. If they play Cheryl for Rayquaza VMAX, if they get it on the next turn, they can actually reset their damage, and then play Bolton's, maybe a memory capsule to play Electrify again to get their energies running. If they don't Electrify, they're kind of done for though, because Manaphy actually helps them only if they have energies in the discard pile, and apparently they have 2 fire attached to the Bolton, which is quite bad. So I suppose they have a terrible start, but they should be able to get, they should be able to do Electrify to help them set off. So we actually block them from doing that with the Paralysis. Thanks to Escape Rope, we get to target the Bolton, and thanks to Froslass, they're not able to Electrify for the first hit. So without Electrify, no energy in the game, no electric energy in the game, and Manaphy is not going to help you. Sorry, Flaffy is not going to help you. And they don't even have a bench Rayquaza. No Rayquaza on the bench is kind of bad. Because Rayquaza is kind of not just the primary attacker, but also the draw support. Because you get to draw cards with Azure Skies as well. Sorry, Azure Pulse. And you're forced to discard everything, but you can play cards like Rod or Pal Pad to shuffle things back. So it's not too bad. If you discard your fire energy though, you're gonna need to shuffle them back. Or even play a Raihan. Raihan for a VMAX deck doesn't really make much sense. It's better to play Raihan for a 1-price deck or a V-Star deck. V-Star still makes sense. You can actually do Raihan a couple times before you exhaust, before you exhaust the prizes. Okay, here comes a ability locking Galarian Weezing. All we need to do is attack with Inteleon. I forgot that Rapid Strike Inteleon has no ability. I don't know why, but I keep forgetting. Weezing is really tricky to play because it kind of confuses you, and it makes you think that, oh, maybe I could use the ability, but somehow I couldn't. I don't know why. It should be in my head though. I know I can't use Shady. But I don't know why it's in my head that I could use the Quick Shoot. I feel like I could do the Quick Shoot. So I actually evolved the wrong Pokemon. So Quick Shoot would actually help us a lot more than the Bullet, because Aqua Bullet doesn't actually work against Manaphy. If they bench a Manaphy right now, we can't actually hit for extra damage. We are doing more damage with Aqua Bullet anyways, but it doesn't really matter if they don't heal their Pokemon. I don't think they're healing with Weezing. Weezing is probably playing more Crushing Hammers and Jammers. They're probably playing a lot more, a lot more Disruption cards than heal cards. I don't think they have any heal cards even, for that matter. So we actually evolved the wrong one and realized that we couldn't do the Quick Shoot a bit too late. If we evolve the Aqua Bullet Inteleon, we could have done a snipe on the bench later. So they're gonna bench a second Coughing right now, and we can actually do extra damage on the Coughing, and that means on the next turn we just need 120 damage to win the game. 110 even. If we do 110 damage with our Froslass, it would actually be enough to kill the second Weezing. So it's definitely a big mistake. We actually played our cards wrong. Could definitely have won a lot faster if we did a bench snipe. So no bench snipe, no Quick Shoot. We're stuck. No Crushing Hammer though. They did not play a Crushing Hammer, surprisingly, or a Yellhorn. I don't know what's happening. They got their Galarmine, and here comes the boss. So if we get the Froslass and the energy with our Candice, we can actually Frost Jail. We should be able to do Frost Jail right now. Frosty Jail for 110 damage. There we go, we got it. We got our Water and Froslass. Ice energy, actually. Icicle energy. Frozen energy. I'm actually deciding what to attach. We don't have a Drizzile, so it doesn't make sense for us to attach to the Sobble. Pyukumuku for an extra draw. We would have won the game on this turn if we did Aqua Bullet on the last. That's definitely a big mistake on my part. Sorry about that. I thought I could do Quick Shoot. I don't know. For some reason, for some wild reason, I thought Quick Shoot was actually playable. It's kind of like Crobat. If your opponent has a Weezing, you would still be benching a Crobat. I don't know why, but a lot of people, me included, would still bench a Crobat even if they have a Weezing in their active. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like an instinct. It's like, oh, they don't have a path, I should be able to do this. It's habitual instinct. I don't know what's happening. You need to be a lot more careful to avoid that. To avoid playing cards, you know, the wrong way, since you have the ability lock. So every single Pokemon in play has no abilities. You can still use Pyukumuku though, because Pyukumuku is an ability in your hand. You're not putting into play, so that means you still can pitch for the extra 1 card, even if they have that Galarian Weezing in their active spot. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, and bye for now, lovely people! Enjoy your life!